Hey everyone, welcome. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Saturday live with the Pod Sound School. We're excited to be here today. We're experimenting with some new equipment.
Yeah, it should be pretty fun. So we got a little close up. When we were doing our previous live streams and when both of us are on camera at the same time, I get what Veronica calls the tontote face. So I sit here and I'm just like, as Veronica's talking. So it's really nice to kind of take the focus off of my tontote face while Veronica's talking and vice versa. So hopefully you like that.
But happy Saturday, everybody. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and are having a great Thanksgiving break and you're with your loved ones, with your family members. I hope everybody is getting along, no fights, no no toxicity because it may happen sometimes with our families. I hope you are spreading positivity and that you're having a great time. Today we have something. We're doing something different and fun. We're going to try to keep it fun for you on Saturdays, and we're going to be playing the Wheel of Fortune with the most asked questions about audio content, audio production, podcasting.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun, kind of different way of doing things. We also kind of experimented with this with the podcast episode, and there's just a lot of questions that are asked that people Google around the terms my podcast and podcasting. And we used Answer the Public for this. Answer the Public is really fun, really cool to get some topical ideas for your show. You can search, I think it's 2 or 3 searches for free every day. Which is awesome. So you just go type in like the topic of your show. So if your show is all about barbershop, you can type in barbering or any of those big topical keywords that you have for your show, and Answer the Public will populate all of what people are most currently and most searching around that. And they add all of like the prepositions, and then they also add all of the other articles. I don't know what you say, like can, why, how, will. And so we did that for this, and we generated a wheel of the most asked questions that people Google the most. And we're going to spin the wheel, and whoever will take turns, and whoever turn it is will have to answer whatever question the wheel falls on.
Yeah, before we get started, how's everybody doing?
Yeah.
Hello, the fallible man. Hello.
Thanks for joining us again.
It's good to see you.
How's it going?
I mean,
Hey,
not
Doug.
to see you because I can't see you, but it's good to see that you're on the chat.
And thank you guys. Tell us where you're joining in from. Say hi if you're here.
Coach.
We got Doug Coach or Doug Couch and Diego.
Oh, it's Couch? Oh, Couch.
Guys, a question
Hola,
that I have
Diego.
is where to get intros and
I
outros.
assume that you speak Spanish. Is because because of your name.
Well, hopefully, in the last name Castellanos, right?
Yeah, Castellanos.
Castellanos. Yeah,
I love that last name.
Really cool last name. So yeah, say hi where you're tuning in from, and we're gonna get going with the wheel. How do you say it? A fortuna.
La rueda de la fortuna.
Yes, the wheel of fortune of podcasting
from
questions.
Where?
And
I can't see the comments from here.
Oh no! Well, if you wanted to, you could pull it up on your phone, and then you can have
yeah.
the comments that way as well. It is
Boston.
pretty far away. We got somebody from Boston. We got saludos desde Puerto Rico. Saludos.
Puerto Rico.
Rema y Pesca. Central Washington with the fallible
Anna,
man.
My friends here.
Hey,
Hola,
Anna. Yeah, we had a great simple Thanksgiving. How was Thanksgiving for all y'all?
Too many cameras.
Too many cameras. Who knows where to look? That one's yours over there. This one's mine. Okay. So we're trying some new things. We're going to continue to do fun things with our live streams here every Saturday. So with that, we will be getting to answering your questions. The super chat is open. Anytime you add a question with the super chat, it will stay at the very top of our feed, and it's easier for us to see so that we can get to answering your question and make sure to prioritize it for you. You could also give us a super sticker if you really like us. I think the super chat's funner because you could like mention, have a question and mention who your favorite host is.
Like Diego, he's from Quito, Ecuador.
Ecuador. Cool. And we have.
So yeah, let's get in touch, Diego.
Yeah, let's do the first question. Are you ready for this? I don't know if we should do this view. Let's do this view. Yeah. Okay. Question number 1. I'm going to spin the wheel, and we'll see if we can hear it.
Spin the wheel.
Can you guys hear the wheel spinning? Let's see what the first question is. Ooh, this one's like...
But who's going to answer it?
Oh, this is you.
Oh, me?
We have a winner, Veronica, and I'll go next.
And you decide.
Well, I guess I decide. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you want to flip a coin?
Okay.
You go first. I'll go
Okay,
next.
I'll take it.
Okay.
So the question is, can you make money with podcast? I was going to say like that's covering my face. I don't like it. Can you make money with podcasting? Absolutely, 100% yes. There are some things that you should take into account before you get all discouraged because you're not making money directly from your podcast. And that is that there's a... Oh, where's my face?
Sorry. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it. You just keep going. I'm pressing buttons over here. Everything's going to be fine.
Okay. So we get this question a lot. And so I think there's this, not misconception, but there's this idea that somebody is going to pay us for making a podcast or for producing a podcast. And it's the same as like, oh, as soon as I start posting content on Instagram, then I'm going to start making money. Well, it all depends on your influence and the plan that you have for making money. So let's say, for example, that you are an influencer and you have a big following on other platform. Maybe you are an influencer on Instagram. Maybe you have a YouTube channel and you have a good amount of followers to your YouTube channel, to subscribers to your YouTube channel. Then in that case, it will be feasible for you to monetize because you will have a sizable audience, and then you can reach out to sponsors. You can reach out to companies and brands who would like to run ads on your show directly. But if you are not an influencer, if you don't have a good amount of subscribers or followers or whatever, that's how we started. And the way that you can start getting creative with making money is, at first you would have to have something to offer to your audience. Maybe you have a product or a service or anything that you can offer to your clients, to your audience, and that way you can quickly start making money leveraging your podcast audience. In our case, we created podcast courses and editing courses and different digital products that people can download and learn how to podcast on their own. And this is how we started making money.
Yeah. And also working with clients. We did podcast editing for people. We still do that for clients. We have a handful of clients that we work with to produce their podcast and things like that. So those were all services that just seemed like they were pretty natural for the topic of our podcast and our content, right?
Yeah. So, and then the other thing that you can do is that if you want to approach brands and sponsors for your show, and you have only, let's say, 100 downloads or 200 downloads per episode, I will pay attention to your niche. And if your podcast is super niche, I will directly approach brands and businesses that will be interested in advertising or would be interested in your particular niche. And that has happened. I've seen it in the past where your podcast is just so niched, and there's a company or a brand that wants to run ads just for that, for your audience. You can do that. I wouldn't discourage you to do that. In fact, I will encourage you to do that. Then the other way that you can make money that is through having paid content behind a paywall, using either Apple Podcast subscriptions or Spotify subscriptions, and these are
Patreon or any crowdfunding source.
For this you would have to create content that is exclusively for those subscriptions that will incentivize your audience to subscribe so they can get access to that type of content. that's where I would start if I had no idea. It's not very lucrative, but the more you grow, the more you'll be able to grow your subscriptions and things like that. So don't feel pressure, don't feel like you have to have everything figured out. Just get very creative, and if you have no idea, if you have no desire right now to start making money, or if you see something that that's something that will come up in the future, just keep showing up and keep growing your audience, and keep growing your followers, and that the moment will come when you will say, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I would just quickly add to that piece of advice that we got early on. I think it was actually from Nick Nimmin when we had him on our podcast. He told us, every piece of content you put out, you should have some piece that you add to that content that is going to generate some kind of leads or have some type of money making strategy in the long run. So Veronica mentioned crowdfunding and also subscriptions and crowdfunding, but also like what products can you sell and what type of services can you offer. You might not even be able to imagine that right now, but what you could start doing is collecting emails and to create a freebie. And at every piece of content, every podcast episode you put out, make sure that you leave the link for people to click on to go get a freebie about whatever it is. A lot of podcasters do this.
Yeah, definitely. Your call to actions are super important. You want to nurture that relationship. You want people to be more than a podcast listener. You want them to become a part of your community. So if you are not offering any services or products, or you're not monetizing in any way, at the very least, like Steven said, you should be gathering emails, collecting emails. You should be incentivizing your audience to come and keep the conversation going on social media, so you can have them being part of your community.
I love it. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Let's check our.
Do we have any?
Yeah, let's see what kind of comments we have going
chats?
on. No super chats, but we do have Doug Couch from Georgia gave us a shout out on his most recent episode.
Yay!
So if you want to check it out, we'll come listen to your Doug Couch show.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yep. And then in India,
look at that sweet baby.
I know, we saw this sweet baby last week too.
Oh, cute.
Says, I believe making money through podcasts is quite low as compared with other countries. Probably as far as the subscription stuff. And a lot of the options like Anchor, for example, and Spotify don't offer the same services in India yet. But a lot of the indirect ways that podcasters are making money in the States is very similar to how you do it in India. And that's just to establish a presence and to establish authority in your field. And then that can grow eventually to just that influence that you have. And then you can position yourself to either sell your own products and services. And then the other thing that I'm not sure you mentioned with the making money is affiliations and affiliate links is another way you can do it. And so if there's any companies that not only do they want to advertise on your podcast, but maybe they'll also give you an affiliate link or any brands or things and it's all pennies at first, just very small amounts of money coming in. But there's that.
Okay, let's spin the wheel.
Where is the wheel? Oh, here it is. Okay, here we go. And I have to go over here to spin it. You can't hear it, but it sounds really, well, it just kind of sounds like a wheel spinning. This one's my turn.
Podcasting versus you.
Podcasting versus YouTube. This is also something that is searched a lot, and also an option that Answer the Public gives you. When you type in a topic into Answer the Public, it will give you comparisons. So there's a few different language pieces that people use for comparison. As one of them is just verses. This is a really good one. Speaking of monetizing, that you can use as when you are doing trying to make money with your content, and you have, let's say you do have affiliate links with two different products, or just with one product, or two different pieces of software, or two different services, you can do a versus video. Versus videos are really powerful because people love versus video when they're making a buying decision. So they're already there ready to buy a product, and they're ready to make a buying decision. But that's not the question. The question is podcasting versus YouTube.
I was going to say,
well, let me see here. So podcasting versus YouTube. I like to make a little banner for it too. We have, that's a cool question. And that comes up a lot. With that question, it's like the other question that pops up a lot too is podcasting or YouTube. Should I start a podcast first or should I start a YouTube channel first? All those kind of questions. Is which one's more work, which one's easier? And I think the reason that a lot of podcasters don't want to get on YouTube is probably the camera element of it. I would guess. And when we've talked to, we're always trying to encourage podcasters to get onto YouTube. And if you've watched any videos on our channel, you know that we're big podcasting on YouTube fans. Also, the way that the industry is changing, YouTube is really starting to prioritize podcasting and getting podcasting onto YouTube. And there's a lot of advancements that YouTube and Google are making with podcasting all the time because they want to be a main contender in the way that people consume. Veronica doesn't like the consume word when it comes to content.
No me gusta.
The way that people consume their content. So it's important to at least be thinking about getting onto YouTube. And I think if it's podcasting versus YouTube, let's say you had to choose one over the other, in all honesty, I would say choose YouTube. Mm-hmm. And then I would say supplement your YouTube with podcasting. And that's like, what? It's crazy. You guys are podcast coaches, mm-hmm. but you can podcast on YouTube the same way you podcast.
I disagree.
You disagree? You would choose podcasting?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I disagree,
and I can tell you why.
Okay. Well, then let's have an argument. You want to have an argument?
Okay. Yes. Let's have an argument. So I think that the point of entry is a point of entry. How would I say it?
Oh yeah.
Like the bar of entry. Mm-hmm. It's very achievable. I don't want to say low when it comes to starting a podcast. First, if you're one of those who are even afraid to take your own picture or to take your own selfie or to show up on Instagram stories or any of that, I think starting your content creation journey with podcasting is a very good idea.
Yeah.
And also the equipment that you would have to spend money on. You can produce a very well-produced podcast with a budget.
Yeah, and even just with your phone too, right?
And even just
these are
with
good
your
points.
phone, yeah. And and some people will say, well, I can make videos with my phone too, but there are all sorts of limitations when it comes to the video that your phone can capture. And also, if you want to get the good quality image, then the phone doesn't replace what a professional camera can do.
Yeah, these are good points. I'm not sure how I'm going to argue them.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait for it.
I'm waiting.
So if you're thinking, okay, yes, I'm not ready for video, I can start starting a podcast is a better thing for me, then that just the natural progression from creating audio content would be video. And that way you can start like easing into content creation. And then you can start adding other elements to your toolkit. Your toolkit. And also
no, it's fine. You go ahead. It's nice that you can see yourself because, like, when I want to cut you off, you're just like, oh, he put his face on there now, so now he means that he's gonna cut me off.
I have to stop.
Yeah, but okay. See, I think you've won the argument actually for me too. Because the way that I phrased it was, if you're gonna start one over the other, there's so many other questions, and it's like money, insecurity, time. Mm-hmm. How much time do you have? Research, the learning involved. But yeah, I think you hit it right on the head when you said that the natural progression from podcasting is to go mm-hmm. to video. So
yeah, because that's how we started.
That's how, yeah, and well, we kind of came out of the gates with both. Mm-hmm. But our YouTube channel was animated videos. We didn't
because we were not showing our faces. We were doing
animated videos. Yeah, it was tremendously hard, and I think I forget how difficult it was to first get onto camera because it was really, really difficult. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely start with podcasting. Difficult. The thing that's really cool about starting with podcasting is, and if you're going to do your own podcast editing, which most of us have to do when we start, is the podcast editing piece. When you get into a good editing program, is very similar to editing video. Mm-hmm. So you learn how to chop up waveforms. You learn how to play with all of your audio on a timeline, and that same timeline style of editing where you're working with real time is also what you do in video editing platforms. So it gets really easy to edit video once you've learned how to edit audio. And so, yeah, all you have to do is start incorporating a camera to that. So
now there are ways that you can do both, that you can start a YouTube channel and also a podcast. And one way would be doing what we are doing, which is you can go live on YouTube and record your podcast at the same time. That requires I would say a professional setup. It's a little bit more complicated, but you can do it. We have people in our community, our students, because we have a course, it's called Smart Podcasting on YouTube. And it's a program that teaches you how to be on both platforms, how to launch a podcast and a YouTube channel at the same time. And some of our students there, what they do is that they go live on their YouTube channels, and then they post a podcast episode after that.
Yeah, and so there's two ways of doing it. You can you could record the audio of your podcast, but then also do it into a camera at the same time. And then you just have to try to remember to look at the camera in addition to getting good mic technique. So it takes some more rehearsal that way. But then you can do that. So you record your podcast first, and then you use the video and take out maybe just clips of that video performance, and you turn in those clips maybe into YouTube video clips, which is one way, easy way of doing it that can actually be a faster growing method on YouTube. Because when you just typically everything's different, like, and there's no hard rules, and you never know what people are going to like online, and you just have to put your content out there and see if people resonate with it or not. But the other way, so one way is to start with the audio first, and the other way is to do the video, and then you do the whole performance like Veronica said, and then you find ways of editing your podcast episode out of that. And usually both ways will require you to do separate intros and outros for your recordings after the fact. But more and more podcasters that after they get going a while, they start finding ways to cut out the editing time. And they start finding ways to reduce extra work that they have to put into their weekly content that they're putting out. So things like StreamYard, like what we're using right now, StreamYard, or other streaming software, they allow you to, you can get a camera switcher and switch between cameras to catch Veronica's like, oh, Steven's talking face. Hey, I'm not even talking about gear. I went over there. I wasn't looking at your face.
How do I pay attention to what you're saying?
It's better than my face.
Like this?
Yeah, but anyway, so that StreamYard and other streaming services, and we're going to continue to play with this on our Saturday lives, allow you to have intro music, pictures, different things you can share your screen, so you can make it more of a show, and you can actually just have the intro music come in. You can say, hey, welcome to the such and such podcast, and you don't say in today's episode or in today's video. You don't use any of that language. You just keep it so the language can work for both. And then StreamYard and these other services will actually send you you can download a recording of your stream after the fact. Or if I wanted to, like in my laptop computer right now, I could also be recording here in a DAW like Reaper. Reaper FM is a really good DAW. It's also very low on the CPU usage, so it can run like in the background of whatever all the streaming software you're using and not really bog down your computer. And that way I'm recording the audio as we're talking too. I just throw a little audio mixing on it, maybe the little noise reduction plugin that I like, and then upload that to the podcast directories. And then in one shebang, we did a lot of research. We did a lot of planning, maybe a little bit of rehearsing. We know our talking points so that our performance is just on point. And if our performance is on point, then we can knock out a podcast episode and a YouTube video all in one shebang. With shebang, yeah,
shebang.
And I think you could say like kill two birds with the whammy, double whammy. But whammies are bad, so you wouldn't say it's a double whammy, right?
What's that's a whammy?
It comes from this old television show, game show, and they'd be like big money, no whammies, no whammies, and then these little whammy characters would come on and say little whammies. Okay. Should we let's see what's up with our
what is up, people?
How's it going? Okay, let's see. Yes, YouTube is tougher for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Caleb, how's it going?
Hello.
I think the camera element is a big stopper for doing both. Yes, it's true. It's hard. It's really hard to think about getting on camera in addition to being on the microphone. So Veronica won the argument.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about podcasting on YouTube, hit us up. We will be happy to give you guidance and point you in the direction of good resources.
Mm-hmm.
If you have questions regarding the equipment or how you can do it on a budget,
Yeah.
or if you're interested on taking our podcasting, smart podcasting on YouTube, let us know.
Yeah. And I just have to say, Rob Gleason, that some of the most radio faces are the ones that are killing it the most on YouTube. But I love this expression. I have a face for radio. Yes. We all have radio faces. Maybe that's why we got into podcasting eventually.
You have a face that deserves to be on the spotlight, honey.
Yes.
So
stop hiding. Now look here. I believe it's better to start on YouTube since most people are more visual and they can also listen to YouTube while, for example, driving or exercising. It's true. And actually, there was one of these surveys. There's always these surveys that come out with podcast listeners. There's 2 or 3 different companies that do it all the time, and I totally spaced it. But if you want to get if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I like to subscribe to all the podcasting newsletters like Pod News, the Podcast Business Journal, also Podmov Daily, which is Podcast Movements newsletter. It's really cool because you get updates on all the fun little things in the podcasting space. But one of the surveys recently was saying it was huge. It was staggering. 70% or something really big of how people listen to their podcasts was on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yeah. And then another interesting fact is that it was, I think a few weeks ago that YouTube announced that they were hiring. They were hiring. You want me closer?
Why is she sliding around?
Let's me closer to him. That they were hiring some big name in the industry because they're planning to do things for podcasting on the YouTube platform. So yes, if you just want to forget about the RSS and start podcasting on YouTube, go for it.
Yeah. A quick question from Rob is, what's the optimal length for a podcast episode? This is really cool. We did a podcast episode about this a ways back.
The shorter and sweeter, the better.
The shorter and sweeter, the better.
In my opinion.
I think as long as it needs to be.
Yeah.
It depends on your audience. But on average, I think it's under 45 minutes. I think the average is between 20 and 45. And it depends on your content too. It depends on your content. Definitely. Some people have a very engaged audience and they have 3-hour-long episodes. But I think the shorter, the better. Kill your darlings. Keep it short. The double whammies, the Whammy TV show was Press Your Luck, which is cool. So now I know how to. I'm going to get a double whammy little GIF that can come on in these live streams as well. And cool. So, and that's great. You want to spin the wheel for another one?
Yes.
For Veronica? Yeah. Oh yeah. Here, wait, hold on. Let me fix it up here. Wait. Oh, there we go. That's better. And then we'll say remove. Now it's just down to 4 questions.
How?
Just press the button or press on it. Yep. Oh, big money, big money. No whammies. No whammies. Oh!
How to promote my podcast.
How to promote my podcast. Okay, take it away.
Okay. So, the most effective way that you can use to promote your podcast, being an indie podcaster, an independent podcaster with a limited budget for marketing and promotion and limited time, it's to be on platforms that have SEO, good SEO. And by SEO, I mean it's search engine optimization, or that they have good algorithm systems in place. Those are Google, YouTube, and social media, the social media platforms. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook has been
Facebook's been a little weird, right?
I can't get the Facebook algorithm.
Something's going on. The Facebook algorithm has been weird. People have been complaining about it, and it's been really
I can't
strange.
get Facebook, but Instagram, TikTok, Twitter too. I know you like Twitter. And what happens is that
I heard a little undertone there with that. Like, I know you like Twitter.
I don't get Twitter.
I guess that's how I am
And you
with
don't get
Facebook.
TikTok. So
I don't. I'm trying to. I'm really trying to get TikTok.
So why it's important to create little videos or pieces of content to these platforms, and how is that going to help you grow your podcast? Well, we all know that there's a discoverability limitation within the podcast players, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Spotify is working really, really hard to improve its algorithm, and there's not a way for those platforms to suggest your podcast quite the same as you get suggested videos on YouTube or suggested content on the social media platforms. So you post your podcast episode and you don't see new listeners coming because on the platforms, your podcast is not being suggested to other people within those platforms. And that's very frustrating, and that's disheartening. And then it's one of the things that as podcast coaches, we have to like get creative and tell our clients and our students how they can put their content in front of more people. And when you leverage the algorithms and the SEO of other platforms like YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, then that way you can bring people to your podcast, bring more listeners.
I forgot I was going to add a little thing, and when I start typing the buttons, it distracts you.
And SEO is free. You don't have to pay for to be on those platforms. You don't have to pay to use the algorithm in your favor and grow on those platforms and bring more listeners. You just have to create content that is engaging, that your audience likes.
Yeah.
That is that it's for those platforms too. So if you're on TikTok,
and an easy way.
Somebody told me I don't know how to say TikTok.
TikTok? I think you say it perfectly.
I said TED Talk.
Oh, TED Talk.
Yeah.
Are you are you going to a TED Talk? No, TikTok. I think you say it perfectly. I think I'm just used to it though. I don't notice any of the accent things.
So if you're creating content for those platforms, for TikTok in particular, you know that is 30 seconds or a 60-second video that has to be super engaging. Maybe some part of your episode that you're talking about something that is so good that people will get curious and go check out your podcast and become a member of your community, become a subscriber of your podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that works.
There are also paid ways that you can promote your podcast. Not that you want to go that route. The one route that we had a little bit of success with, and we still have a lot of people on that player, is Overcast. And Overcast allows you to actually pay to promote your podcast, and it comes up, and it's actually inside of categories. So it's being promoted within the category of your podcast. And through the analytics, you can actually see from your podcast host that you maintained these subscribers on Overcast. I think the other one's Castbox. But then one thing, Veronica says engaging content. And I'm thinking, well, how do you make engaging content? What does that even mean? And I think a good way to start is just to be authentic and not to think about it too much. And that's, I'm saying that to myself.
Yeah.
Because it's really difficult. It's really difficult to even be able to do that, to be authentic and to just like not feel weird, and not feel very awkward when you're making these TikTok videos. And
yeah, we've been
dancing around and pointing at bubbles and things,
We've been working on that too, because now we want to create content for TikTok, and it's been a journey of longer than a year with Steven too.
But
get him on board.
But what Veronica is saying with SEO really comes down to two different things you can do to optimize all of your content. And it's optimize it for search and for suggestibility. And so SEO is search engine optimization. And there's things in the blogging world that makes a lot of sense, right? Like I need to worry about how I title my podcast episodes and do keyword research. And then also within my episode description, I can put a lot of number 1, number 2, number 3 points in my episode description, and actually don't skip out on doing some really good description, some pieces of writing that you put into your podcast episode description. Then you can also share the transcripts to your podcast host as well. That will help to make your podcast more searchable, and that's great. And then also to make sure that you're on all of the podcast players, iHeartRadio, Pandora, the ones maybe you don't think about, that you're on all of those players, because those can wind up being single listeners that eventually turn into super fans and start spreading the word about your podcast.
Yeah.
And then promote it on platforms that have huge suggestibility is the other thing. And that, so the algorithms like TikTok and Instagram Reels right now are the ones I think of the most, that to me seem like they're the most active with that they really do push your content and put it in front of people. They test it to an audience, and they're very generous that way with independent creators.
Yeah. So, also, it is kind of my mission in life to make you I'm gonna burp.
Oh boy. I got a lot of air. You were gonna burp.
I got a lot of air inside me.
It's because you're projecting your voice.
That I don't want you to get limited by your podcast. I want you to think of you as a brand, that you are creating a brand. And when you ask me how to grow my audience, I don't want you in your head to think, oh, my podcast audience. And then I'm posting all this stuff on these other platforms and they're not converting to my podcast. People are not coming to listen to my podcast. I have the same numbers. Well, some of those people that are in your community that are super fans, and they're following you on Instagram and they follow you on TikTok and they subscribe to your YouTube channel, may not convert to be a podcast listener, but they are part of your audience.
Yeah.
Because you are on all of those places and you're creating your personal brand. You're creating your brand. Yeah, you started with your podcast, but now you understand that you have to be on other platforms, and that's okay. Yeah, in our case, we've been posting videos on YouTube, and there are some people that are like, oh, cool, we didn't know that you had a podcast. And all of a sudden, like, they're listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
So I want you to look at your numbers as a whole, and all of the platforms that you are at, and be open-minded and just start creating content.
Yeah, and before we spin the wheel again, I just wanted to comment on Julian. Hey, Julian, how's it going?
Hello.
I wanted to comment on this because we get similar comments like this all the time. In a previous live, somebody said, how to promote my podcast when I have 0 followers. And it's like, yeah, it's tough to promote your podcast when you have no social media at all. So you have to get social media. Veronica has been regurgitating this really cool episode she listened to of, was it a podcast, and do you remember his name, the guy from Shark Tank?
Damon,
I can't remember his name, but it was a really cool episode. And was that on Don't Keep Your Day Job? So anyway, Don't Keep Your Day Job's favorite podcast of Veronica's, and she always like regurgitates the episodes to me. And Damon, I think his name's Damon from Shark Tank. He started with the FUBU brand of clothing. Maybe you know who I'm talking about, but he had some really cool advice. And he talked about in the first years of his entrepreneurship and how he would make 50 phone calls a day. And this was before the internet. This is before all this time, but he would, whatever his busy schedule was, and he was making those phone calls on a payphone. Well, the equivalent to that nowadays is to just pick a social media platform and engage with 50 people a day. Everybody's there on social media, and you can search other people out. So identify, who do I imagine is going to be listening to my podcast? And there's a huge group, millions of those type of people who could potentially be big fans of your podcast, or are just chilling on the social media platforms. So go find 50 of them every day and engage with them, meaning find something on their profile that interests you, and do it from a place of authenticity and sincerity, and find something you can comment about that you like about their world, and bring yourself into their world, and then make 50 new friends a day, basically, on social media. Don't harass them at first to come listen to your podcast, because they won't. It's really hard to get people to come over and listen, but they will after a minute. After they've been following you on those social media platforms, like Veronica said here on our YouTube channel, they're like, oh, you guys have a podcast. And we see as our YouTube channel grows, our podcast grows as well. And it comes from different places that our podcast grows. But So it's about showing up, being consistent, and setting some time in your schedule for promotion and developing a promotion strategy. What's really cool about a promotion strategy too is that it gives you something to gauge over a long period of time. So you can look back at the last year and be like, how did this promotional strategy work? Maybe I need to change it up. Maybe my people actually aren't on Instagram. They're on Twitter or they're on Facebook, and I don't like Facebook, but I'm going to have to get over there. Or I'm not going to dance around and point at bubbles, but I got to get over on TikTok, So that's kind of my spiel about that too. And then, hey, we need a sound effect.
We got a super chat.
Thanks, Bryce, MB Bryce. Is GarageBand and Imovie are good for podcasts? So, iMovie. Mm-hmm. Yes, this is a really cool question, and we can spend a little time here. Thank you so much for your super chat. That's amazing. We're gonna get a super chat sound effect, and maybe a way that I can push a button and it'll make a fun sound effect. So GarageBand is great for podcasts, and iMovie is also great. It's great to start with. They're both free, and I would say they're great. GarageBand has some limitations when you get really advanced with your editing. In particular, is crossfades. And what I mean by crossfade is every time, let's say in the middle of a sentence, I want to cut out a couple words, and then I want to bring them together so there's no gap. At that intersection of those two pieces, it's nice to have a little crossfade. So the volume goes down in an equal proportion that the volume comes up on the other chunk, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
I feel like that's one of the most eloquent ways I've ever explained a crossfade.
That was very good. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And you should have a button where you could toot my horn. Okay. And it means that you're like tooting my horn. So I don't have to toot my own horn. You know what I mean? And so for that reason, I would probably suggest trying out some other ones. My big all-time suggestion, and it's free really to start with on PC or Mac, is Reaper. And you can download that for reaper.fm. It's really cool. The interface is really intuitive, and it can be free basically forever, but they're constantly ask you to pay. And it's just a one-time $60, which is a pretty steal of a deal. It's very professional. And then what I really like about Reaper is it's upgradable. You can purchase plugins, like the Waves plugins have really cool plugins that you can purchase that are really easy to use, that immediately, like, you put that plugin on your voice and you raise one little knob and all the noise goes away, or the compression, your voice just sounds really beefy and delicious and radio ready and broadcast ready. There's also limiters and things you can use with Reaper. So Reaper FM is a big recommendation, but GarageBand is a great place to start and get you going with the whole timeline mentality, and just getting in any DAW is an okay place to start. And iMovie is also a great place to start too for quick videos. And then when you're ready, the Mac, Apple's progression for you, now that you're ready to not be a consumer and you're ready to enter into Apple's prosumer category, then you would upgrade GarageBand to Logic Pro, which I can't remember how much that is. I think it's $300. I'm not sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, if y'all know in the chat. And then Final Cut Pro is the beefier version of iMovie. It's really cool, used by a ton of professionals, and that's a one-time $300 too, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I looked at the App Store. So those are really cool. And then beyond film editing, if you're looking for another really good film editing option that's affordable, I really recommend Filmora as an entry-level film editor. And they're constantly upgrading Filmora, and it's a one-time $60 too, I believe. So it's a good, like, middle of the ground. And if you invest just that little bit of money into a DAW, digital audio workstation, audio editor, or a video editor, if you invest just that little bit of money, you usually get a better result. And one of the better results you get with that is ease of use, which overall saves you time, and time is money, because your time is worth a lot more than the money you're going to spend on a better, more intuitive solution that allows you to upgrade more easily. So, and I didn't ever click over here, and I need a sound effect for when I talk tech stuff for Veronica's face. But I like that. Okay, so
let's spin the wheel.
Let's spin the wheel. Okay,
I hope that was helpful.
Hope that was helpful.
And Bryce, MB Bryce,
MB Bryce. I like saying my Bryce, but I don't know if you might not like that, my Bryce. But now you're my Bryce. Okay, here's the wheel. Is it my turn to spin it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll remove this one. We just have a few questions left. We'll get through these. Let's get through these ones quick.
Okay. What do you mean? Like, let me be.
Oh, I'll let you be. Well,
You
this
don't
is
let me
I
be.
get to answer this one, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I feel like I've been talking too much, but here we go.
Will my podcast be successful?
Ooh.
Let's bring up the, how do you call that? The crystal ball.
The crystal ball.
La bola de cristal.
I found this one to be very interesting that people would search this.
Yes.
Not that
It's like, will my husband be faithful? Will my husband cheat on me? Google, tell me.
Uh-huh. But isn't it interesting the things that we Google, you know? And this one is, as far as the will category goes, this one is the most searched will.
It is.
And it has been for a while. Actually, we made a video about it because of that.
I did.
Yes, and it's a really cool video you can find on our channel. So what's cool that I got this question, and I'm going to make a little thing for it. Hopefully I spelled it right. Does successful just have one L? I hope so. The
successful.
Full. The cool thing about this is you get my answer, and then you can check out our video for the better answer, which is Veronica's answer. And
it all starts with the definition of success. Like,
yes,
what's success for you?
It all starts with the definition for success. But I can honestly, with like really look you right in the camera eyes and say, yes, it will be successful on one condition or a couple conditions. And it's just that you're willing and open to adapt and to do things that scare you, and that also you're willing to commit. And so that the best,
Aww.
you know, yeah.
I really like that answer.
You like that answer? Oh, good. That's nice. That's it. As long as you commit to showing up consistently and being open-minded to adapt and to do things that scare you, and to lean toward things that scare you, and to look at like, okay, that doesn't feel comfortable to me. That means I should probably do it. The more you jump into that realm.
I love that answer.
Oh, cool. Well, that's nice. And you didn't even
short and sweet.
Short and sweet. And now we can move on to our next one. Let's see if we have any comments, and we'll move on to another one. We have to say hi to Eileen.
Eileen, I'm a fan.
And then this says, hello, can you explain what's going on? Yes. Hey, how's it going? We should probably periodically say, hey, if you're just joining us. And so thank you for tuning.
Yes.
For
thank you.
making us aware of that.
I'm Veronica. This is Studio Steve. We are the Pad Sound School.
Yes. And we go live every Saturday here, and we talk about podcasting related things. Today, we're spinning the wheel of fortune. Yeah. Which is
Steven is an audio engineer.
Yes, and Veronica is a retired corporate lawyer, become branding and marketing specialist and writer as well. And we work with
servicio.
And we work with.
I feel like you're not making enough close up.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Like I did my makeup and everything, and I'm just not getting enough.
Well, that's good.
Camera time.
You're not getting enough camera action. Also, I'm trying to, move around and look, and it's hard to look at the right camera. So really what's going on is we're just talking shop with podcasting and content creation. And if you have any questions here, the super chat's open, and we're happy to answer questions. The Fallible Man said, just followed you on TikTok.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll follow you back as well. And
let's,
who else has a TikTok here? Let us know. We'll follow you on TikTok.
We'll love to follow you on TikTok.
Also, we'll follow you on the YouTube channel. It's not a follow for follow thing, because all the platforms look down on that, but it's just it's a happy thing, to get to know each other. So
let's spin the wheel.
Let's spin the wheel. So that was my answer for that last question. Here we go. And back to spinning the wheel. Okay, you want to spin it this time?
Yes.
There's only 2 left. That was a good spin. Oh.
How to improve
Could that go any slower?
How to improve podcast audio?
Yes, I love that you got this question. Okay, Veronica, how do you improve? Have you been listening? How do you improve podcast audio?
So, watch Studio Steve's videos. That's how. So one of the things I've been paying attention, like he's making fun of me because he thinks that I haven't been paying attention when he talks about audio production, but buckle your seatbelts because I have been paying attention.
I'm ready. Wait, before something's been driving me crazy. I have this little bit of headspace, and then and you've got too much. Can your seat go higher? Ooh, there we go. See?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. I love it. Yeah, okay. That's just, it makes my brain operate better. I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay, continue.
So I like to say that you can achieve very good audio with like on a budget, because I've seen people doing it. I think, what's the question?
It's how to improve my podcast audio. Oh boy, this is going really well.
And so the first thing I would do is to look at your recording area, wherever it is. If you have a recording studio, a dedicated area in your house, then look around and see what are those places that you can cover with some foam. You can cover with some ugly foam.
Oh boy,
you're gonna have to take this
I'm
one.
glad I buckled my seatbelts because
Okay, wait.
Okay.
So I have learned about the reverb.
The reverb. Okay, well, what would you qualify as bad sounds that you achieve on a podcast?
So what I
This is bad.
No. I'm making a fool out of myself here. But
okay, no, it's good.
Acoustics, it's a big one, and I have learned that every place you get into, you have to clap.
Every place you go, you have to cover. You have to clap.
And if the clap comes back at you, then you should do something to your recording area. There you go.
So what she's saying is that she's making fun of me walking in any place I walk into. I clap to see if there's a lot of echo or reverb or things, especially, and so, my official clapping, it must make me feel important or something. But the easiest way to immediately improve your audio, what Veronica's getting to, is to just kill the reflection sounds or get into a place that's not so echoey or reverby. We're still working on that actually here in this room. This is a little reverby for my taste still. It's driving me crazy. But the easy ways to do that, affordable ways to do that, would be curtains are great, rugs. Any hard surfaces are going to make a reverb sound. And for music, if you're going to be singing, that can actually be really cool. But for podcast voices, we don't like that reverb, echoey sound. It sounds like we're at a distance. We like to be nice and close. That's the other thing, is proximity to your microphone.
Yeah, mic technique.
Even if the microphone is just your phone, you can really get some cool mic technique with your phone. The phones are designed to pick it up with us holding it like this. So actually holding it to your ear is a great place to get good audio. But I also like doing this, which is a similar mic technique than what you would use with a microphone, where it's the angle of approach. You don't put the phone directly in front of the airway of your mouth. You have it coming in on the side so the air can pass by the microphone. So things like that, so you don't get the annoying pop noises. You can also put these little puffy pieces on your phone. So it's about mic technique, that you can use what you have, and treating your room is huge. And then beyond that, you can move on to post. So that's like actually production, that's recording, and pre-production, preparing your production area. And then the other thing you can do is in post-production. There's a lot you can do in post-production. And that starts with noise reduction. There's some really cool noise reduction plugins. My favorite one recently is the NS1, and that you can get from Waves. I think it's like $30 or something, and it works in any DAW. It works in Audacity, Reaper, Pro Tools, Adobe Audition, Logic Pro. I think it even works in GarageBand. It's great. And it's just one knob, but that one knob does de-reverb, DS, or not de-essing, noise gating. Angle of approach. Yes. Thank you. Angle of approach or angle of attack is a really cool thing. And then you can use a de-esser. Gets rid of those S's. A lot of us have a really sibilant voice, and that drives me crazy. And it can actually cause ear fatigue after a while. So it will allow you to select just a higher frequency, usually around 5 kilohertz or 5,000 hertz is a good place to set your de-esser, 5 or 6,000. And that cuts out a lot of it subdues them while still allows them to be there. So then you can learn about things like compression and EQ, and then overall good limiter would be good too. And then there's a ton of programs and plugins and things that claim to do this automatically for you. And actually they do kind of do it automatically for you. I used to be very hesitant and kind of like, I would turn my nose up at them like, yeah, how can you do it automatically? But actually, yeah, the technology is pretty amazing. So there's Alphonic, I think, is one of them. A lot of Buzzsprout has magic mastering built into their platform as part of their podcast hosting. So that's a good thing to take advantage of. It costs a little extra every month to unlock the magic mastering. But that, I think, actually was some type of agreement they had with Alphonic or something similar technology there. So that's it, is like just learn about the post-production stuff and then do those few things that Veronica attempted to
explain.
Yes. Well, I think your explanation was probably better. And whoa,
Just
what
clap
was the
and
name
film.
of that plugin again? You got it, Demetrius. It's NS1. Really cool. And it's from the Waves, which I think is just the normal way you spell Waves. And Waves is a really cool company that does every major recording studio has the biggest Waves bundle. They make incredible audio plugins, and they're actually pretty affordable. And I wouldn't be surprised if they've got some sort of holiday deal going on right now where you can get a couple plugins for one. We should contact them to see if we can get an affiliation link, because I'm a huge spokesperson for Waves. So yeah, for sure. And cool. So we've got a bunch of the last wheel spinning.
Yes.
And we're getting down. We try to, if this is your
Maybe
first.
I should just answer it since I made a fool of my.
Yeah. I think you should just answer it. And the last one, I'm going to spin the wheel. Let's see. I'm not hearing the sound. Maybe that's because there's nothing on the wheel. Maybe we'll hear the applause. We have to wait. Oh,
that took me by surprise.
This one is, I would say, a more recent one that people are searching for.
Yeah.
And it's probably stemming from the question also, like, should I start a Patreon or should I just start on these new Apple Podcast subscriptions or Spotify subscriptions?
So yeah, I'm going to try to give you a short answer for that. It depends on the kind of content that you will be creating for behind your paywall. And if you're thinking about creating only audio content, then I would say that Apple subscriptions or Spotify subscriptions is a good way to go. And they make it so accessible for your listeners that they can just, like, using their podcast app, they can subscribe to your paid content right there. They don't have to go to a website. They don't have to create an account. It's just right there. And the majority of us have attached payment to our Apple accounts. So it will be something like very quick. They'll subscribe to your content and they get access to your content, and that's it. Super straightforward. People will be more inclined to do it that way. With Patreon, there are a web-based service, and you would have to go through all these different things to sign up to be to have access to a content that is behind a paywall. So it's hard for the creator and it's hard for the audience to get on Patreon. We were on Patreon. I think we're still there. We have to cancel that somehow, like soon. And we haven't been very pleased with the results that we've gotten there. It's just another platform that you need to maintain. We were having a hard time explaining people how to find us there. They have to create an account with Patreon, which some people don't like to go through that extra step. Let's say like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing. And then you lose their attention very quick if within 15 seconds, 30 seconds, they're not doing that. If they keep like hitting walls and they have to like do all these workarounds to get access to your content, they will get distracted with something else and they're not going to do it. So the more straightforward, the better. Yeah, I would say. But if you want to post video, if you want to post blog articles that are only for your subscribers, then Patreon has that those features. You can post video. You can go live for your community there on Patreon.
Yeah, I like that. I think that basically just compares the main concerns, which is how easy is it to get people over there? I mean, it's already hard enough for us to get people from social media just to click a link to come listen to our podcast and give it a chance. And then podcast listeners, a lot of times, they mean to do it. They're listening while they drive. They're listening while they do the chores or run errands, or they just have their phone through an Alexa speaker somewhere. So they can't actually go and then, it's very difficult to get people to sign up for Patreon. But Patreon allows you to do a lot more than what the podcast subscriptions allow you to do. One thing that some people are doing is they do it all. They use all of them. Neither Apple subscriptions nor Spotify subscriptions nor Patreon have a exclusivity clause. So you can have the same content on all three platforms. Spotify subscription model requires you to be hosting your podcast through Anchor. So that's something where you have to do I want to switch my host over to Anchor? And that's a whole nother question you have to think about. It's relatively painless. There are some links that will get broken, especially if you've been kind of posting shared embed players to a bunch of your blog articles or something. Then you have to go completely replace all of your embed players and stuff like that. So that could be a huge headache to switch podcast hosts, but people are swapping podcast hosts constantly. Anchor is a very reliable, good host. You hear a lot of bad garbage being spread about Anchor, but they're actually very reliable, really great hosting service, and they're free. And they have a lot of options, and they're really trying to push the independent podcaster. So I am really kind of am rooting for Spotify and Anchor personally, because I think it's showing signs of really caring about the independent creator a lot more than Apple does. Anchor also and Spotify allows for people to give their email address to you, which Apple doesn't. So that's something that's like, well, it's cool. And Patreon also allows people to give their email to you. So it's cool. Like after the fact, then you have how it's our people. You want to nurture the relationships you make with people who become your patrons or your contributors, or so that's kind of the differences between all of them. Veronica, if you had to choose one for a podcast you were doing, maybe a podcast you were going to start, which one would you choose?
I think between what?
Between Patreon, Apple subscriptions, or Spotify subscriptions?
I would do.
And you're not currently hosted with Anchor. So if you're going to choose Spotify, you have to move your podcast to Anchor.
I would start with Apple subscriptions, and I will start making bonus content, audio bonus content
on Apple.
On Apple, yeah.
And
that's what I would start.
And if you're currently with your podcast, if you're currently thinking about ways you can start moving your listeners to crowdfunding, because maybe you're starting to get more like 100 plus downloads per episode. And it's like, I think, 5-6% of these people would come over and be my patron or help me with crowdfunding. And it usually is about 3 to 5-7% of people, of your listeners, that you can convert to being paid listeners. You can, things are just beeping like crazy over here. And it's because I think we've gone over our hour mark.
We have our 13-year-old watching our 3-year-old baby.
Yes.
And the 3-year-old baby is abusing the 13-year-old.
Yes.
So
we have a particularly insane and
it's coming from him.
Yeah, no, it doesn't come from me. I mean, if you saw this toddler, it looks exactly like Veronica.
No,
and it's a savage.
It's
and it's a complete beast, and it tears at things. And but
I was a well-behaved baby.
Yes, very well behaved. So that's it for all of our questions today.
Yeah, so we'll be here next Saturday answering your questions and kind of just showing up for you and having a good time.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys had a really fun time today, and we're here to answer your questions. Thanks so much.
What was said.
We have one more here. This is great.
Here.
Yeah, and we can answer this from Rob Gleason.
Rob, we didn't forget about you.
No, we did not forget about you. We just weren't in this right tab. And then, and Eileen has a lot of Eileen's a perfect person to pick her brain about this last question. More money goes to the creator on Patreon. If the podcast subscription is on Apple, the host doesn't get to keep most of the money like they do on Patreon. That's true. Yeah. Currently, Spotify isn't charging anything for the first, is it 3 years or something? They give you everything except for any of the transactional fees and stuff like that. But actually, I thought that I thought Patreon and Apple were pretty comparable. But Patreon probably does give you a little bit more.
I don't know. We haven't
really done either. We haven't gone through the process yet. So this one, Rob Gleason, can a dynamic mic make up for an untreated space with a lot of echo / reverb? I love this question. And oftentimes when you're looking online for if you should get a dynamic microphone or a condenser microphone, these two microphones that we have are dynamic microphones. The other classic dynamic microphone you'll see, and I know that you know this, Rob, already, but this is just for everyone else here, is that classic stage microphone that people are singing with. That's going to be a dynamic microphone as well. Dynamic microphones are a different technology. They work from magnets, and the magnets, it's sort of self-powered. So they have what's called a low gain usually, and they need a preamp to really boost their power. So they're not very sensitive. They're rugged, they're durable. And as a result, they also don't pick up as much of the background noise. So yes, a dynamic microphone is usually always a better choice for podcasters than a condenser microphone because condenser microphones perform better in recording studios. But if you're going to treat your room with some foam, like Veronica says, all of the ugly foam, and
there's some very good looking foam too.
There's some really good looking foam. But if you're going to treat your room with foam and curtains and really reduce the amount of reflective surfaces you have, then you can get a condenser microphone. And what a condenser microphone will do versus a dynamic microphone is it really brings out more of the real quality of your voice. It's a truer to life sound. They will usually have a wider pickup range as far as the frequencies, although I'm not necessarily, but it's just more presence because they're not as they actually run off of a diaphragm inside of the microphone that's powered with electricity. So that's the other big difference between a dynamic and a condenser microphone is a condenser microphone has to be powered. And on a mixer and everything, or on your audio interface, you'll see something that says 48V, which stands for 48 volts or phantom power. You'll have to click that on for your condenser microphone to work because it needs power. And for that reason, it gets a better reproduction of sound typically. And there's some really good condenser microphones for that. This is why I don't recommend the Blue Yeti as a microphone for podcasters, although it's a very popular one for podcasters, because the Blue Yeti and also the Blue Snowball are condenser microphones. So they pick up more of the room space and they will pick up more of the reverb and stuff like that. So yes, definitely a dynamic microphone can help, but it won't solve the problem completely. And you can probably hear that in this room. Like if I were to clap or you're just pay attention to this audio, it's pretty reverby in here because we have this hardwood floor. It doesn't have a rug on it yet, and we haven't put up all the foam that I have ready to put up. It just hasn't been installed yet, and so it's too reverberated even for a dynamic microphone. The more you can really just kind of be inside of that's why people go in their walk-in closets where they're surrounded by clothes, the better, even through a dynamic microphone. So hopefully that answers your question, Rob. Thank you so much for the contribution and the super chat. And we're always here to talk about gear recommendations, podcast promotion, any ideas that you guys have. Definitely come join us on Saturdays. We're doing this every Saturday for a while now. Same time, same place. It's 12 p.m. Eastern time. And until next time,
happy casting, amigos.
We'll see you guys later. And
we'll be here next Saturday.